Let's see. Hello. Okay, it looks like my audio is working, but my microphone was not connecting. You guys know that I can never have an easy live stream. I feel like I have to, the only way I can know is if I check. Once I know that my audio is working. Okay. Hello. Okay, it looks like my. So it is working. That's good. Hi. Welcome. Apologies for the wait. Let me turn that off. Apologies for the wait. I am so glad that you're here. And also apologies for the lack of microphone that I'm going to have. So I'm going to just talk a little bit louder today. We all know how live streams are. You never know with audio, and it's just not picking up my microphone right now. So I'm just going to kind of talk and try to be as loud as possible for you guys, and we'll make it work. So today we are doing the basics of hip mobility. Now, I do a live stream about once a month that is free for everybody, but this will be uploaded into my membership. So the replay will be available in there, but I do the live stream so that we can hang out together and then also have a mat chat afterwards so that you can ask me any questions about anything that you are struggling with personally, and then we can kind of go from there. And also so that you get a little sneak peek inside what we're doing inside the membership. So let me make sure I'm in frame. I want you guys to know that I'm moving in like 30 days. I'm so excited. I'm so tired of having no space. That is going to be rectified. This is all the space that I have. This room is tiny. I don't actually know what the square footage is, but it's pretty rough. So I'm going to have a lot of space in about 30 days, and this situation will be a lot better. But we've got to do, work with what we have and just do what we got to do over here. So, all right, the basics of hip mobility. If you could have something soft nearby, I love my fluffy blanket to use when I'm trying to soften up the practice. You're going to be needing that because hip work, we're going to be doing a lot of hip openness, but also the thing is we'll be on our knees a little bit, so that can be quite sensitive. So just have something soft nearby. Usually I'd recommend yoga blocks, but we're going to go a little softer today just to make it extra cushy. Let's go ahead and get started. If you don't have a yoga mat, a rug will do. If at any point you can't hear me, I'm going to yell a little bit so that you guys can hear me nice and clearly. Oh, let me record actually so that I can upload this. There we go. Okay, so if at any point you can't hear me, just feel free to pop it in the chat there. So I'll keep an eye on the chat, but I'll only come back to the chat after class. You guys can ask me anything that you struggled with during class, or maybe something that you're personally struggling with that you would like my advice on. So right away, I just want you to understand sort of a little bit of a backstory about how you can implement mobility work into your hips in a non-physical way. You need to understand that hip mobility, particularly because we hold a lot of tension and emotion in this area, and it's not where this is scientifically backed. There's a lot of studies around mobility and emotional well-being. You need to understand that stress and hip mobility go hand in hand here. They're shaking hands. If you are very stressed out, your hip mobility lets go. So the muscles surrounding the joints actually start to tighten, and this is a defense mechanism from your body. So if you are struggling with hip mobility, address the stress in your life first and foremost. And it's not just hip mobility, but it's just very extreme in the hip joint. So let's take 3 deep breaths together, and this is how we can activate the parasympathetic nervous system. This is the basics of the basics for hip mobility. You need to understand that stress matters when you're working on this. So come to a comfortable position. You don't have to sit on the floor like this if this is uncomfortable. pop on your couch, whatever you need to do. Take a deep breath in through the nose as you close your eyes. Really, really deep breath in, fill up the lungs, and a big exhale, sigh it out, kind of like you're letting go of stress. Okay. Deep breath in through the nose, really, really, really inhale, fill up the chest, fill up the lungs. Imagine the stress manifesting in the chest, you're getting a little tense, and then with that exhalation, let it go, kind of like your body's gonna flop. We're letting it out. Energy is starting to collect as you take your next breath in. When you filled up the lungs, can you take one more sip of air in? And then a big exhale, sigh it out. Okay, beautiful job. You may feel a little tingly, you may feel a little bit weird if you're doing breath work. Just stay seated, and if you do feel a little too tingly, just take it easy. Don't do those big breaths anymore if you're new to breath work. We're gonna get started on our backs. So come to lay on your back, and we'll start with some supine hip work. Supine means when you are lying on your back. So this Back to Basics class is going to be accessible for beginners especially, but all levels are welcome because it's really good to also just come back to your foundation and make sure that you're not missing any really important areas. You know, when we get to that advanced stage, we kind of start to get a little lazy. So we're going to come back to understanding anatomy when we're working on our hip mobility. So take a deep breath in here. We're lying down. Your knees are bent almost so that you can kind of graze the back of your heels with your fingertips, but you don't have to be able to touch them, but I want them to be pretty close. Your knees are also hip width distance, and both sides of your hips are in line with one another lying on the ground. Sometimes if we're really out of alignment, maybe one is lifting up, just make sure that both your knees are pointing up towards the sky. They're not in, they're not out, there's not one that's higher than the other. Both of them are pointing upwards, and then your hips are doing the same. Take a deep breath in here, and then as you exhale, can you bring fleshness to the mat, which means can you tuck in your pelvis ever so slightly and activate the core. Bring your core up into your ribs as you kind of find the connection to the mat and your vertebrae. So your back is going to be flesh, which means touching the ground, and then you've got nice neutrality here, so we're not arching. So I have that anterior pelvic tilt, so that's sending my tailbone down. I want you to kind of tuck so that we've got neutral pelvis here. So the ground is actually acting as a little bit of an alignment tool. Take a deep breath in here, and then as you exhale, can you maintain the same integrity? So the core is kind of coming up into the rib cage. We've got that nice neutrality. As you lift your hips up, they don't need to go high, just lift them up. Can you maintain stillness in the hips and then bring them back down? Okay, so up to you how high you go. The higher you go, the harder you're going to work your glutes, and then also the harder it's going to be to stay in alignment. So you can feel free to just lift ever so slightly and come back down as we practice lifting and lowering, or you can try to lift as high as possible if you're familiar with bridge pose. Totally up to you. So bring the hips back down. Notice if your integrity in your pelvis has gone. That did for me. I noticed that I had to tuck it back in. Totally normal. Just try to keep it in your mind. Deep breath in again. You can even hold your hips here with your hands to make sure that you don't shift. As you exhale, lift your hips all the way up. Bring them back down as you inhale. Tap the mat with your bum and then lift back up. Let's do 5. Keep breathing and try to sync it with your movement, but it doesn't need to be perfect. And if the breath is just too much to think about right now, forget about it. Just try to focus on the alignment. You don't want to focus on too many things at once, and it doesn't need to be perfect. I think we have this obsession with breath needs to be in sync. We need to be in alignment. We also need to make sure that the right places are activated. Just do your best with what you're doing right now. Last one. And then come back down. Beautiful job. Inhale at the bottom. Exhale to lift back up. Now we're going to play around with shifting around. So what we're doing is opening up some mobility and flexibility in the lower spine, because we're going to twist a little bit and then also strengthen the surrounding muscles, which is also a big deal. You're going to start to feel a burn if you're holding in the lifted position. It's okay. If you need to take a break, just go back down. But we want to strengthen these muscles. That is another huge reason that people lack mobility, is because they have very weak glutes. Okay, so inhale, come back down again. Exhale, lift up. On the next inhale, I want you to twist while maintaining integrity. See if you can kind of twist your right hip down and then tap your right bum. So it sounds a little weird, but tap your right cheek down to the floor and then exhale, lift back up. Can you come back to neutral? Okay, if this feels impossible for you, we're building those connections. Your brain and your body is communicating. They're going to build that mind-body connection. It's okay. Even if you're not twisting at all, we're going to twist the left side, bring the left cheek down, tap, and then lift back up. Even if you're not twisting at all, just kind of pretend like you are. So you're trying to activate those sort of muscles that need that connection as if you could. So that is how you build the connection. So we're doing the right side again. Let's do the left, bringing that left cheek down, lift back up. Right, up, left, up. Last two on both sides, right, up, left, up. Last one, right, and up, and left, and up. Slowly lower down as you tuck in your pelvis a little bit more, so we can go vertebrae by vertebrae all the way down. Once you reach the ground, untuck the pelvis. Now we're coming into that pelvic tilt, sending the tailbone down. Notice the arch. You'll be able to kind of slide your hands underneath your back. Tuck the pelvis back in. We're going to lift back up as we tuck the pelvis. Now we're only lifting very, very slightly. So what we're practicing here is loosening up the low back so that we can loosen up the hips. We need to do a lot of work on the surrounding muscles and vertebrae and joints and all of that in order to loosen up this area. So the spine is the foundation of the body. This is what we're working on first. So tucking, coming up, coming back down, untucking. Okay, building the connections that you need to activate the mobility in your hips. Tuck and lift, come back down, untuck. Last one, tuck, lift, come back down. Nice. Hug your knees into your chest and kind of have your knees slightly away from your body, so we're not rounding and hugging. You're resting your head on the mat, and then just push your knees from side to side. So we'll massage the lower back, help the lower back release a little bit more. Notice that tension. If you have a little bit of pain when you do this, it means you really needed it. Deep breath in here. And exhale. So tightness in the spine is going to cause tightness in the hips and tightness in all areas, including the hamstrings as well. But obviously, if you have low spinal mobility, you are going to have low hip mobility. Take a deep breath in here. We're still in the same position, but tee your arms out on either side. As you exhale, can you send your knees over to the right, trying to keep both of your elbows glued to the mat and your shoulders. So I don't want you to lift up your arm at all here. Even if that means you need to lift your legs a little bit, that's okay. Deep breath in here. And exhale. Can you twist a little deeper? Inhale. And exhale. Now inhale here again. As you exhale, lift your knees back up. And then we'll slowly float them over to the left side. Elbows and shoulders are on the ground. We're not going to lift like this. So keeping everything nice and glued, even if that means you need to lift up a little bit, that's okay. Deep breath here. And exhale. Deep breath in. Exhale. One more breath. And exhale. Unwind. Grab behind your knees, rock and roll up to a seated position. Whew, how are we doing? How are we feeling? Just checking that everything is good. Okay, so we're gonna come into some deep hip mobility work now. And this is when I want you to bring your soft pillow or blanket or whatever it is into the chat. So bring your pillow wherever on your mat, really. It doesn't matter where you're sitting. Sorry that I keep getting emails. And just pop it kind of like in a nice poofy position because you're going to sit on top of it. Let's actually bring the right leg in front first. So right away, we're going to come into what's called a 45-90. So your front leg is in front of you like this, and wherever you're placing the pillow, just try to make it feel comfortable in this position. Your back leg is in a 90-degree angle, so if you can't see, my knee's kind of in line with my hip, and then my leg's going back like that, and then the front leg is kind of just at a 45. A lot of people do the 90-90, but for this exercise, we're doing the 45-90. Take a deep breath in here, and if this feels still like too much, if you're kind of like sitting like this right now, can you elevate a little bit more? Grab another pillow, grab another blanket, it's okay. I'm gonna be talking a little bit, you got time to run and go get one. Take a deep breath in here, if you're okay, and then exhale. Lift up your spine as much as you can. So imagine a little string pulling you from the top of your head. Deep breath in. Exhale, lift, lift, lift. I want you to be able to sit straight. So if you need more things, I don't want you like this. Okay, so lifting, 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 even if that means that you're kind of sitting like this. One more breath. Exhale, let's stop with the exercise. So you're going to bring your hand next to you. It doesn't matter where it is, even if you're on your tippy fingertips here. And then you're going to place your left hand on your left hip. So we've got the right leg in front right now, left hand on the left hip, and you can even place your right hand on your right hip if that's easier for you. Now you're going to squeeze your left glute to bring your left hip forward. A lot of the time what happens is, bring it back again, squeeze it forward and then back as I'm talking. A lot of the time what happens here is somebody will say to me, I cannot do that. I cannot move my hip at all. It is stuck. Again, do the movement as if it could move, right? Squeeze that glute and try to bring the hip forward as if it could. You need to create those connections. Your body is sending information to the brain. The brain is like, okay, don't know what to do, but I'm going to try. And eventually you'll notice it's like you're breaking through. Those chains are going to start snapping and you'll be able to start moving. When you're practicing this movement, even if it doesn't feel like a lot, just know there's a lot going on inside that joint capsule. So let's do 5 more. I recommend for you to do about 10 a day and then work your way up. You guys know that I believe in working your way up. You never want to go and pretend like you have been practicing hip mobility for 10 years and just pop into a Skandasana or Cossack squat. You want to take your time. All you're going to do is limit your abilities and actually probably cause regression. One more breath here as we bring that hip forward. We're going to add a little bit of a twist. Just bring your chest over to the right, untwist, and then come back. Now we're going to play around with a little bit of a fun movement, and I know you might hate me for a second, but this is going to do wonders, especially this movement after this hip opener. They go together very, very well. So right away, you're going to start to lean forward, and then you're going to come kind of on your knees, tuck that back toe, and utilize the softness that you have here to bring your knees on top of whatever soft thing you've got. And if you have nothing, you're just using your mat, totally fine. But we're gonna right away come into a froggy. So the fun thing is when you lean forward and come into the froggy, it's a fun little transition. So come to your forearms, your knees are wide, and your feet are flexed and pointing outwards. A lot of the time people do this. Bring your legs out, feet flex towards the outer corners of the room. Take a deep breath in here, and then as you exhale, send your weight back into your hips. So you're coming and bringing your weight back towards your tailbone and utilizing your forearms to push you back too. Take a deep breath in here. Can you push back even more? I know this is tricky, but your body's going to stop you from going too far in this position. And froggy is actually a really nice beginner pose, even though it looks kind of scary and it can feel pretty intense. One more deep breath in here and exhale. And if this really, really is too much for you, you can always come up onto your arms and kind of just slide down to what feels good for you. Now, here's the fun part again. You're going to lift your left leg and you're going to bring it under and you're going to push back, and you'll find yourself in your 45-90 again. But because we've got the soft thing, you know, it kind of gets in the way, we're going to come back to sit on our pad, whatever your pad is, but just knowing that transition is in your future. That's what we're working towards here. Okay, but we've got our softness. I love having my blanket on my mat. It is so useful. So coming back to a 45-90, but this time on the other side. And you can make this your own, you know, make it comfortable. I've got my blanket in between my legs here. We're still in the same position. Just make sure that your spine is up towards the ceiling and you're not doing this, okay? So you're going to be putting yourself in a compromising position when that happens. Lift yourself higher if this is too intense. Hands either on your hips, or you can place your left hand down on the ground on its tippies. We've got the back leg in a 90 and the front leg in a 45. Deep breath in here. Squeeze that right glute to bring the hip forward. We're slightly moving the chest, but not a lot. Bring that weight back. Squeeze that glute. Bring the hip forward. Chest slightly over. Not a lot. We'll do that twist in just a bit. Relax it back. Bring it forward. I can't wait to hear how many of you guys are like, I felt like my hips did not move, because that is the most common response that I get when I teach this to beginners. Deep breaths here. And just so you know, the advanced version of this, keep going with that pulse, is to come all the way up. So we twist, come up, twist, twist, come up, twist. You can see how we're utilizing a lot of mobility, not only in the hips, but also in the spine. So we want to make sure that that spine feels happy, the vertebrae are lubricated, so that you can invite more movement into your hips. And also think about where the nervous system is, right? It is along your spine. So if your spine is not happy, it's not going to let go. Your nervous system is going to hold on as tight as it possibly can. One more, and then we're going to move into froggy on the other side. Because we've got the softness going on, we've got a lot of padding, it's not as smooth of a transition, but we're working our way there. If you are just on your mat, you could probably pop into that froggy, come back into the 45-90, no problem. Take a deep breath in here. Let's do that twist. So push that hip forward by squeezing the glute, and then we'll do that twist. Nice little breath here. And then exhale, come back. Let's start to lean forward. Bring the front leg back. You're on your knees. And then slide down into your froggy. Flex your feet. Remember, we don't want the feet like this. Bring them out. They're in a 90, your legs. And then your feet are facing the outsides of the room. Deep breath in here. Exhale, send your weight back. Deep breath. Exhale, weight back. I know it's intense. Basic and beginner does not equal easy. We want to be challenged still. You still want to, experience discomfort during any class, any workout class. Imagine you go to a workout class and you feel zero discomfort. Your heart doesn't even go up a little bit. You don't feel any aches or pains. It's kind of just funny how yoga and Pilates, people are like, that was so hard. I couldn't touch my toes, so I can't do it. And it's like, well, when you go to a CrossFit and you can't do 10 push-ups like they tell you, do you just quit immediately? Like, what's the story? So I don't know why yoga and Pilates is kind of always different for people. Okay, deep breath in here. And then we're going to lift the right leg and then come back into the 45-90 on the right side. Now, typically, I would say do 3 rounds of this, but because that would take quite a while and class is going to be about 40 minutes long today, we're just going to do 1 set, but feel free to do 3 sets. Feel free to do this class again, and then, you can kind of see how we did it and all of that. Okay, moving on. We're going to come to sit on our bum again, utilizing our squishy, whatever your squishy is, pillow, blanket, whatever. If you have a bolster, those work really great too, but not even I have a bolster. So, okay, come to sit on your bum, elevating your hips here. We're going to invite a little bit more movement into the spine to continue to loosen up along the vertebrae and just kind of open up the hips a little bit more before we enter into a little bit of glute work. What a lot of people don't know is if you have weak glutes, you will have weak and immobile hips as well. The glutes are incredibly important for increasing the range of motion in your hips. Deep breath in here. We're seated, lift up like a string is pulling you from the top of your head. And then as you exhale, imagine someone's punching you in the stomach. You're going to round and then push your shoulder blades apart as much as you can, tuck in your chin. Inhale, arch, draw the shoulder blades together, send your gaze up to where the wall and the roof meet. Exhale, round like someone's punching you in the stomach. Inhale, arch. Exhale, round. Inhale to arch. And exhale, round. Beautiful job. Doesn't that feel so good? All right, option for you. We're going to come to lay on our side. You don't want too much cushion here because while we're lying on our side, I don't want your hips to be crazy lifted like mine is right now. So what I recommend is just kind of whatever your squishy is, just fold it over once. You can also fold over your mat once. You just don't want it too high. If you are using a pillow, just fold over your mat. Or if you're on a rug, maybe you may experience a little bit of achiness in your hip over here. It depends from person to person. For me, I have a lot of sensitivity when I'm laying on my side. Anyways, come to lay on your right side first. We're going to use our hand as a sort of stand for the head. And then bring your knees out in front of you. They're nice and bent. And I want your spine to be in a nice straight line. So if you can line up your spine with the back of your mat, that would be great. Take a deep breath in here and then exhale. Deep breath in again and then exhale. If you need to bring your head down at any time, that's totally fine too. It's kind of personal preference with where you want your head. Inhale again. We're going to start now. As you exhale, bring your top hip down. So it's almost like you're pushing it down, and then notice how you kind of lift from the underside. I want you to try to continue to do that. So lifting from the underside, not allowing a lot of sinking here. Lifting from the underside, deep breath in. Exhale, pull that top hip down. And then extend your left leg out while pulling your top hip down. Okay, so the right leg is kind of in a 90 again. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, draw that hip down more. Really lifting from the underside. One more breath. As you extend that leg out, you're going to start to feel a little burn, maybe even a stretch in the top hip here. Inhale, tap your toe down. Exhale, lift. Feel that work in the glute. Inhale, tap down. Exhale, lift. Okay. So we're inviting a very powerful strengthening exercise into the glutes. We're waking them up. Hello, you can feel them. Deep breaths in, exhale as you lift. So exhaling on the exertion helps you to maintain strong movements, and then also to maintain a good breath variation, because sometimes we can kind of get like when we're working out. So if you can on that exertion, breathe out. But if not, like I said, try to just focus on what you can so that we can work towards the best practice. Okay, last one, lifting up, bring it down. If you need to take a break, just relax it down. And if you hit this glute, it's going to help get that blood flow into the muscles and just give you a little bit of relief from that burn, because this does burn, but it's such a good burn. I think this is kind of my favorite. I love glute work, and it's also just crucial for hip mobility. I mean, I think this is such a slept on part of it. We're always working on like all the circles and lubricating the joint, but you know, the glutes need to be strong. Okay, so one thing you need to understand with glute work is the placement of the leg matters so much. So when we're straight like this, we're able to work most of the glute muscles. But when we put our leg back, so notice if you do lift your leg, send it back, notice the activation in the glute maximus, which is the biggest glute muscle. So then we're working the biggest muscle in the glute, and when we send it forward, it totally shifts to a different area. So that's what's really cool about lying on your side and doing glute work, is every time you move the leg, you're changing what area you are targeting. It's very cool. So sending the leg back out, we did up and down. Now I want you to send your leg back and forward. Now usually I like to invite some ankle mobility here, so flexing and then pointing to come back. You have the option. Make sure that you're lifting from your underside, and if you want to bring your head down, that's totally fine. Totally up to you. I'm in the mood to have my head up, but we're gonna do 5 both sides. So it is 10 in total. I'm feeling the burn, so you're definitely feeling it too. Let's do 3 more. Come forward and then back. 2 and 1. Bring it back, lower it down. Okay, so we did a well-rounded movement there. For those of you that practice with me, you know that my glute works a lot longer than that. We are going to do 1 more, and that is clamshells. Now the typical clamshell, you are going to open up your knees while both of your legs are on the ground, but if you lift your ankles up, notice the difference with how much more range of motion you can use. So if you lie your legs down and then open up, notice how little range of motion you get. Lifting those heels up and then opening, you get a lot more. So I like to lift it up. So from a 90 position, both of your legs are on top of each other. Lift your heels up. You're also getting an internal rotation here of the hip joint. Open up the legs and then close them back down. 7. 6, you exhale the exertion. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring your legs back down, switch sides. Whew, how are we feeling? We're gonna chat in a little. I hope you guys are doing okay. All right, so other side, same thing. Can you line your back up with the back of the mat? Let me check the time. I cannot see, I'm like blind today. I put like sunscreen on my face this morning and I just got it in my eyes. Okay, we good. All right, so lining up your back with the back of the mat. However you want to lay on your mat is up to you. You can bring your head down. You can lift your head up, have it on a little kickstand like I do. Bring your legs into that 90, deep breath in. As you exhale, send your hip down. You can use your hand, and then we're really lifting from the underside. Just so you know, it is super normal to kind of relax here as you're practicing, especially when you start to feel that burn. Your body's going to be like, I'm burning, forget about everything else. So it's totally normal, and it's part of practice to be mentally aware of when you start to do those things. And also you will learn your habits that way too. Like, what do I typically do when I start to feel that burn? You know, so you'll learn. Take a deep breath in, send that hip down. Okay, inhale here, and exhale, send it down. Inhale again, exhale, send it down. Now we're gonna do that same thing. Extend the leg, inhale, exhale, send it down. You're going to start to feel a stretch in that hip here. Inhale, exhale. By the way, doing these exercises is also warming us up for some low lunge work that we're going to be doing. So we're warming up all of the surrounding muscles here so that it is safer for us to practice elongating and stretching the surrounding muscles. So you always want to do this work first before you get into those deep stretches. Just a little note for the basics, understanding how to build that hip mobility and then also lengthen the muscles. Take a deep breath in here. As you exhale, send it down. Inhale, tap the toe down. Exhale, lift up. Inhale, tap. Exhale, lift. Okay. 6, 5, 4, I'm already burning, 3, 2, and 1. Bring it back down. Feel free to tap your bum if you are burning. For those of you that practice with me all the time, you're like, Kath, oh my gosh, like this is nothing. Usually we are like in full-on burnout mode. The glutes are so tired that you like feel them like barely holding on, and it's actually so fun. I know you may be like, that is not fun, but trust me, we make it really fun. Deep breath in and exhale. Okay, so send that leg out, and we're going to start to activate the other muscles. So send the leg back and then send it forward. Just a little note, if you notice that your chest is coming forward and then coming back and then forward, not good. You want to stay still, keep that integrity, activated core, lifting from the underside, send it back. The only thing moving is your leg right now. Feel free to hold onto the ground. Do what you're going to do for now. Okay, inhale back, exhale forward, last 2. Feel free to activate your ankles. If you want to add that in, last 1. Come back, relax, tap that muscle. So tough. Okay, 90 degree, both of your legs, knees on top of each other, flex your feet, deep breath in, and exhale. Inhale, lift your heels up, and then exhale, let's open up. We're getting right in. Lifting from the underside, do not let it flop down. Here though, instead of a tuck, if anything, you can arch your tail, sending your tailbone out a little bit, give you a little more range of motion, okay? Let's do 5, there goes one of my lights, 4, 3, 2, and 1, down, bring the heels down. Beautiful job. All right, come to sit on your knees. How are we doing? Okay, we're good on time. All right, so moving on, we are super warm. Notice the sensations in your quads, in your glutes right now. You should feel a little bit of like warmth, maybe blood flow to the muscles. This is a really good sign that we are nice and warmed up. So moving on from this, we're going to start to do some deep stretching of the muscles surrounding your hip joint. Now, this is where I advise for you, especially if you're very tight in that area, to be careful. What we want to focus on is alignment, not going further. Don't focus on being in the full expression of the pose. Focus on the alignment cues that I'm going to give you. That is the most important thing, and that is going to get you to the full expression of the pose that you want way faster than if you force yourself in, okay? So all you're going to do is scare your body. It's going to tighten the muscles even more, or injure yourself, which is much worse, because then you're stuck doing nothing and you really can't do anything about that. A lot of people will reach out to me and be like, I have an injury here. What is the best exercise for that? And I was like, unfortunately, none. No exercise is good for an injury, really. Like if you have an injured or a torn muscle, you don't want to work it more. You need to rest it. Okay, come to sit on your knees. If you cannot sit on your knees, that's okay. Just come sit like this. Let's take a deep breath in here. Exhale, making sure that parasympathetic system is staying good. One thing, you can bring your mat into a folded position so it's softer, or your blanket, fold it over again, or your pillow, whatever you're utilizing here. We are going to be on the knees. This is kind of like the most important moment to have softness. Take a deep breath in again. Exhale, let's lift all the way up. Okay, bringing the right leg forward first, come into a low lunge. This is a low lunge. This is not a low lunge, okay? It is a low lunge, technically, but if you're plopping into it and your hips are totally out of alignment, I'm going to go ahead and say that's completely wrong, and you're leaning more towards a lizard pose, which kind of relies on you having a little bit of, an alignment malfunction in order to get into it. But I wouldn't go that far if you're feeling a lot of tightness. So notice when you come into this position in the low lunge, do you feel a stretch? So ask yourself, do I feel a stretch in the front of my left hip right now? Or where do you feel a stretch? Because sometimes you have tightness somewhere else that actually stops you from even being able to practice a hip stretch or hip mobility. A lot of the time it's like, I don't feel that in my hip, but I do feel that in my back. Okay, that means that you need to also work on your back. I have a lot of videos on that, a lot of classes, so feel free to go through my library. But do you feel a stretch in your hip right now? If not, tuck in your pelvis. What about now? Look at your hips. Are they as in line as they possibly can be? Is one hip really high compared to the other? Of course, it's going to be a little bit more. You've got that front leg in front, so it's going to be slightly, but how in line can you get it? Okay, when you tuck in the pelvis, do you feel a stretch in the front of the left hip? If so, stay here. If not, push your hip forward. Do not arch to come forward. Stay tucked and then push forward. So really focus on pushing your hips towards the front of the room instead of coming forward with your chest. Big difference. Send your hips forward. Inhale. Exhale. Push your hips more forward. Relaxing the muscle and lengthening the muscle. Inhale again. Exhale, push forward. Inhale. Exhale, push. If you cannot move anymore, don't move anymore. One more time. Exhale, push. Release. Okay. So take a breather. Maybe you need to come onto your knees again. Whatever you need to do in this moment. Just going to give you one more little thing. So when I'm inviting breathing into the stretch, that is strategic. When you exhale, your muscle is going to let go. When you inhale, you're going to provide oxygen to your muscle, and then as you exhale, coming deeper into the stretch, it's going to let go a little bit more. You're feeding the muscle, and then you're also putting it into that position where it's going to relax. So you're also relaxing the body. It's a whole process. So that's why inhale, exhale, get deeper, okay? But your alignment has to be correct. Let's switch legs. Left leg in front, deep breath in. Feel free to tuck the back toe if you like, if that feels better on your knee. Inhale. And then as you exhale, let's tuck. Which side feels tighter for you? For me, my left is definitely tighter. This is like, I don't even feel it. I can tuck in the pelvis, don't feel it at all. Inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, send it forward. Hips are coming forward, not your chest. Hips forward, okay? Deep breath in. Exhale, more forward. Like I say, if you've reached your limit, do not come more forward. Stay where you are and keep breathing. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale again. Exhale. Check that alignment with your hips. It's okay if it's a little higher. Of course it's going to be if your leg's in front of you, but you don't want something crazy. Let's release. Take a deep breath here. And exhale. Switch sides again. Okay. Now we're going to practice some eccentric stretching, which is when you activate a muscle and stretch it at the same time. Okay? Tuck your back toe. Inhale. Exhale, tap. Now, hands can go wherever. I'm going to place mine on my hips. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, can you lift up into a high lunge? Tuck the pelvis at the top. Do not straighten both of your legs. Bend them both. Tuck in the pelvis. You feel that? Inhale. Exhale, come back down. Maintaining that tuck, it's kind of difficult. It's like you really have to focus on balancing, tucking, lengthening, and strengthening. This is the hardest part of class. If you have something to hold on to nearby, feel free to do so. Deep breath in. Exhale, tucking in the pelvis. We're gonna lift back up. Bent knees, tuck, tuck, tuck. Inhale, come back down. Exhale, at the bottom. One more time, inhale. Exhale, lift. Inhale, come back down, switch. Okay. One more time. Then we're gonna do a little bit of Skandasana work, and then we'll be done. So stretching the inner thighs and doing eccentric stretching there. Inhale. And then exhale, we're lifting up. Almost fell. It's okay if you do. Inhale, back down. We're keeping that tug. Okay? Inhale. If you want to hold on to something, feel free to. Exhale, come back up. One more time. Inhale. Keeping that tug. Exhale, come up. Inhale, come all the way down. Okay, come to your knees. We're going to stand all the way up. So, hopefully you can see me. Yes. So, if you follow my socials, which if you're here, I'm sure you do, I just posted a video about Skandasana. So, or Cossack squat, which is this. I'm not very warmed up for that right now, which we're going to do right now. But a lot of people think that that's what they need to practice if they want to practice that position. But it's better to practice from a standing position first, work your way down. You can utilize blocks, but today we're just going to play around with our hands. The blocks are good to bring the ground closer to you. Okay, so deep breath in, come to a wide stance. You can tell that I'm pretty wide right now, okay? So hip width distance, wider than that, maybe about a foot wider. Take a deep breath, inhale, lift and lengthen. As you exhale, bend into your right knee. Okay, if this is too much for you, come up higher, it's okay. You can bring your feet slightly wider than hip widths. I want you to start where you are at. So deep breath in again, exhale, bend into the right leg. Inhale, lift back up. Exhale, bend into the left. Inhale, lift back up. Exhale, right. Ignore my hands. It just kind of helps me. I like to play around with painting into the position. You can have your hands just on your hips, okay? Notice the sensations that you're feeling. Where do you feel it the most? That's going to tell you a lot. Listen to what your body's telling you. Are you feeling it in the quads? Are you feeling it in your hips? Are you feeling it in your back? That would tell you that you're arching. You need to tuck and lift. Okay, once you tuck and lift, do you feel in your back still? Then notice again where you're feeling it. So that's how we can kind of work on making sure that your alignment is correct, especially if we are online. So let me show you from the side. Lift and lengthen here and bend. Notice how I'm not arching, I'm not rounding and coming forward. I'm lifted, staying still, and then bending the knees on either side, okay? Okay. The way that you would work your way up is not to come lower necessarily yet. You want to make sure that you're lengthening the insides of your thighs here. This is a very difficult area to make flexible. It is extremely tight. So if you've noticed, when you come into butterfly or something like that, stay where you are, you feel a very intense stretch here. And a lot of people try to push past that. Worst idea with this area. You want to make sure that you are slowly opening it up. Even if you're flexible, you can't just pop into a middle split right away. Okay. Now what we're going to do, instead of coming lower, you're just going to reach forward, bend your knees, reach forward. Okay? So here, just focus on bending your knees as much as you can, and then bend your legs. So your feet are still facing the outer corners of the room, and then you're coming up, okay? If you can't touch the ground right now, totally okay. You can just place your hands on your thighs, Bend into your left leg, come up. Bend into your right, come up. Try to keep a straight spine though. So bend into the right, come up. Bend to the left and then come up. One more time. Other side. Lift all the way up. Okay. Because this is a basics class, we're not going to go into the full expression of Skandasana. What I wanted to do is show you the beginner version to work your way up to eventually doing that. Of course, you work your way down, and you can check that out on my page. I have quite a few reels on that talking about that. And I also have a tutorial, a video that I just uploaded. I think it's called Cossack Squat Tutorial. Let's come to sit. Last little stretch we're going to do of the inner thighs is a middle split, but I'm going to show you the beginner version. So hopefully you can see what I'm about to do. Okay, so the middle split is typically this. But the beginner version, I have so little space. I'm so excited to move. You guys have no idea. Like, the reason I've been here for so long is because I could not get out of the lease. I did everything I could, but the struggle was so real. But I found a new place. I'm so excited. Okay. Anyway, sorry, that's personal. Lift up. We're sitting on a bum. You can have your pillow blanket underneath your bum right now. This is a middle split too, okay? But we're bending the knees so that we can have a straight spine. Because I don't want you doing this. Or whatever's tight, whatever's gonna pull and you're gonna struggle. Come to a great anatomical position where your body is safe and you can still practice the stretch. That makes sense to me. Here's the thing. Go until you feel the stretch. So if you're doing this and you don't feel it, I want you to feel it. Make it deeper. Open up your legs more. Still don't feel it? Okay, straighten your legs out. Do it until you feel it, because everybody's going to be different, and then that's how you work your way. Now, of course, because I've practiced this so much, I only feel it here. But like I said, start with your knees bent, feet flexed, okay? Feet flexed is to protect your knees and to protect your hips. It really, really helps. Deep breath in. Can you kind of arch your spine as much as you can? Notice how I can only get it really straight. And then exhale, we're going to round. Now you can just hold onto your legs. You can hold on behind them, whatever you want to do. Inhale, arch. Try to lean forward as much as you can, arching, so you feel a deep stretch. Exhale, round. Inhale, arch. Exhale, round. Two more here. Inhale, arch. Exhale, round. Inhale, arch. And exhale, round. Beautiful job. Lift back up. Lean back. Bring your feet out in front of you. Deep breath in. As you exhale, send your knees over to the right. Inhale, lift them back up. Exhale, send your knees over to the left. Inhale, back up. Right. And left. One more time on both sides. I'm sliding down my mat. Totally normal if you're doing that. And then left. Come back. Close your knees together. And just lean back. Make it comfortable. Toes also kind of facing each other. We're just countering what we just did. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. And that's it. Okay, so you have completed the basics of hip mobility. If you found this helpful at all, please do like this video, comment below. Let's have a little discussion about how this felt for you. What were the challenges that came up for you, and we'll talk about it. Maybe you could also, take some things from class and start to practice it on a daily basis. That's really what I do recommend. I love teaching classes and I love to do an extended practice. I believe that's very important. But what is crucial for hip mobility and mobility in general is practicing little snippets throughout the day. When you go to the bathroom, do a few squats, maybe do what we did earlier where you're going right leg, left leg in the standing position. Just do 10 of those. And then try to do that multiple times a day. That's what's really going to make a difference. Okay. Let's see. How are we doing? Welcome, guys. Yeah, let me know what you struggled with. I will stay for just a little bit. It is 12. But yeah, and if you do want to practice longer sessions with me, that is all going to be inside the membership. So on YouTube, I love to upload, tutorials and short classes, 10 minutes to 15 minutes. And then kind of just like try to give you guys what you need and want as much as I can, but you know how it is. I really do have to put a lot of my work behind a paywall, but I will say I do not attend yoga classes anymore that are like $30 a session. My membership is $29 a month versus $30 per session. It's ridiculous. I genuinely refuse. I refuse to spend that money. I feel like what has happened? Why is it so unbelievably expensive to practice, Pilates and yoga? Because you can go to a gym class and it's like $12. I could be okay with that. I wouldn't complain, but I went to, I think it was Core Power the other day, and I was like, how much for a drop-in? Like, I'd love to just pop in or whatever. And they said $36. To which I was like, when did that happen? Because I remember it being like $24, and I just refused. I just was like, it's not even embarrassing because I genuinely refuse to spend money like that. I just feel like that is absolutely ridiculous. I just can't get behind it. So, moral of the story, that's part of why I created the base version of you, so that you get to have daily classes and unlimited classes that you can practice from the comfort of your own home. What I do as well is go to Hotworks. If you live in the United States, get a Hotworks membership and then just take my class into the little sauna and then practice it there. That is incredibly beneficial because you have the heat from the sauna, the infrared that's healing for the body, and then you can also practice my classes that aren't too strenuous. So don't do like a cardio workout in the sauna. Do my mobility and flexibility work, and you're gonna see huge results with that. But yeah. Okay, so I'll stay active in the chat for a little bit longer. Just comment on the video and I will respond to you if there's anything that you struggled with. Otherwise, I'm gonna get going. I do have to do a few things today. I have some boxes that you can't see right now that I need to pack. I'm so excited. Otherwise, please do like this video, share it with a friend if they are looking into, starting yoga and Pilates. I do a freebie once a month, so I love sharing it here with you guys. And yeah, I will see you in the next one.